Okay, it's time to get our grading room dialed in so that we have an accurate grade. And this is more complicated than you might think. When I first got into this, I was like, are you kidding me? But no, there are imperative details that we have to address to get an accurate color grade. So what's going on? Why can't we just look at a screen and grade? Well, here's one reason. Let's say you have a window with ambient light coming in. Well, outside light changes color temperature all day long, or from day to day, from sunlight to rainy, etc. And a gift that we have as humans is that our eyes are kind of always white balancing, if you will. We go outside, we come in, and we don't think about the color temperature changes. We just see things accurately. But that gift works against us when we're trying to do an accurate grade. If you're grading your film and you've got light coming in and it's changing throughout the day, then your eyes will auto-adjust, you won't know it, and your grade will begin to drift. Let me show you something to drive this home. Check out this image. See the nice gray bar with the gradient on it? There is no gradient. Take another look. I'm going to remove the background, and there we go. Our eyes and our brain are always doing things without telling us, without our permission. So the only way to control that for a grade is to control the room so that our eyes and brain don't have to do any auto-adjusting. So I'm going to go through kind of what you're supposed to do, and then I'm going to show you what I actually did. An actual colorist would take this much further. If you're a professional colorist, you'd have thousands of dollars worth of gear, you'd have walls at a certain N5, N7 color, perfect lighting, all this stuff. I mean, some colorists actually grade on Flanders scientific monitors, and some of those displays cost, I think, over $20,000. It's crazy. And that's the extreme, but you get it. So we're going to talk about lighting, we're going to talk about display size and distance, and then we're going to talk about wall color. So let's start with lighting. First things first, you've got to block out all outside light. So I just went to Amazon, I got some thick black curtains to block that out, and these curtains also help by cutting down some reverb with sound, which helps with sound design. And any of the stuff that I talk about, you can go to the community, to the equipment list, and including curtains, it'll all be in there. So that's point one that you have to do. Point two, we have to control the color temperature and the intensity of the light in our grading suite. So we need to be using 6500K color temp bulbs. A calibrated display has a D65 white point. So what that means is when it shows white, it's like a D65 waveform or something like that. D65 is similar to the 6500K color temperature. They're not the same thing, but for our intents and purposes, 6500K bulbs will be accurate enough. But you do need to get accurate bulbs. Bulbs will have a CRI index, color rendering index, and you want 90 and above, or you're just getting bulbs that say they're 6500K and there's something else entirely. And a true colorist might say 90 is not high enough, but just shoot for that and you'll be okay. But before you do that, we need to talk about the overall brightness levels in your grading room. The Society of Motion Pictures and Television Engineers, Smpte, they have guidelines for grading suites. And the document we're going to look at right now is an older one. They may have a newer one for HDR grading suites or something like that, but this one still applies to us. Let me just read it to you. 7.1. All light sources in use during picture assessment or adjustment should have a color quality closely matching the monitor screen at reference white, which is D65. 7.2. The ambient light reflected from the screen of a switched-off monitor should be the lowest possible level. 7.3. Reflections on the monitor screen should not cause a perceptible impairment from the normal viewing position. 7.4. The production desk and control consoles where a script is read should be illuminated to a light level of about 100 lux, 10 foot candles. The illumination on the general working surfaces of the production desk and consoles should be 30 to 40 lux, 3 to 4 foot candles. To conform to the Smpte standards for a grading suite, the monitor should be calibrated to 35 foot Lamberts of light output. At this level, the surrounding light should put out 3.5 foot Lamberts, 10% or less of the light output. So you might be thinking, are you serious with all this? But yes, we are. So let me break down the Greek in that document. It mentions foot Lamberts, by the way, and that's a way to measure light. 1 foot Lambert per square foot is like 1 candela. And a candela is different than the foot candles we're used to with our light meters. Light meters measure the light, foot candles with light meters are measuring the light hitting a surface, whereas a candela is measuring the source light in a different way. Something like that. But for our intents and purposes, we're going to use our light meter to dial this in. So what did I do? We already talked about the curtains. I blocked out sunlight. And then I decided to do something different. I used one of my aperture lights. The Amaran 100X that I have, it has a CRI rating of like 96, so it's very accurate, and I can set it to a 6500K color temperature. So I went to Aperture and I bought a lantern softbox that looks like this. And these give a beautiful, soft, ambient glow. In fact, I wish I would have had this during Reckoning. So the plus of this is I'm meeting a grading room requirement with the softbox. I'm using a light I already have, and now I have a beautiful softbox for my other film productions. So it's a win-win. So then for my outlier lamps in the office, I went and just got cheap 6500K bulbs off Amazon. Because the main light is so accurate here for my control surface, I wasn't worried about the outliers. And then I took my light meter and I dial in the brightness. And so to do that, you turn your displays off and you just take measurements. And that document said that the general ambience is supposed to be 100 lux. Lux is Latin for light, and it's yet another way to measure light. I'm not sure why there's so many ways. But what we need to know is that one foot candle equals roughly 11 lux, 10.764 to be exact. So to get 100 lux in our grading room, we need to be around 10 foot candles. And then it said the control surface, which is this area, needs to be roughly 30 to 40 lux, so around 3 to 4 foot candles. Don't get too crazy with all that. If you just get this whole area hovering around, even 5 foot candles, it's still pretty accurate. But remember, do it with the displays off. And when you set your lantern softbox, if you do that, make sure you're not getting any glare off of your grading display. It has to be nice and black, all right? So that's what I did with the lighting. Now let's talk about display size and distance. The Smpte group that talked about the lighting also have guidelines for the size of your display based on its distance from you. So they said that the height of your display should be 1/3 the distance it is from you. So this display here is a 24-inch display, but that's a diagonal measurement. So if I measure just the vertical, it's like 12 inches. So according to the Smpte guidelines, this 12-inch display should be 3 feet away from me. I keep it about 2 feet away. Not going to worry about that. And then the other thing you're supposed to have is what's called a bias light. A bias light is a light behind a display that gives a soft glow. Like that. And what they do is they help ease eye strain, but they also help you see colors and contrast more accurately. And so you can go crazy with bias lights and get these D65 strips and all that stuff. But all I did is I went to Amazon and I got a $20 adjustable lampstand. And then I got a D65, so a nice bulb. It's an actual D65 dimmable bulb. It's the Medialite MK2. The bulb costs more than the $20 stand. But I put that on and then I just set it to the lowest setting and use that for my bias light. And it's not exactly accurate. Your bias light is supposed to be like 25% of your display brightness, and we're going to get into display brightness in another lesson. But I just go as low as I can and call it good. So let's talk about wall color. For your walls in a grading suite, you're supposed to have this GTI standard gray neutral in 5 paint on your walls. And this is where I drew the line. I'm not repainting my office. Now with that though, my office walls are black, and except for the wall behind me, which is gray. And a true colorist is going to say, hey, this isn't good enough. The walls need to be black's too dark, and maybe this gray is too warm, too cool, whatever. But I wasn't going to redo everything. Now if I was doing this office from scratch, then you bet I'd go to BH Photo and I'd order the GTI N5 paint stuff. I've also heard N7's good, so I'd research it some more. But for me, I wasn't going to make a change. Now, what are your walls like? If your walls are a bright, bold color, you might need to address that. If you had bright purple walls, for example, that's going to mess with your grade. It might be like your Bono with U2 with purple glasses grading your movie, and that's going to affect it. And by the way, those glasses Bono wears, if you're a U2 fan, like I am, they are not a fashion statement completely. Maybe they are. But he has an eye issue, some type of degenerative eye issue, and so he wears these colored glasses to protect his eyes from too much light. So just interesting side fact if you like U2. So back to filmmaking. So you have to decide if you've got bold colors on your walls, you probably need to do something about that. And if you are going to paint and you don't mind gray, then yeah, look at the N5 paint. So in summary, you need to block out sunlight. You need to figure out how you're going to address the 6500K lighting, and you need to get that at the right level. Again, I highly recommend the softbox route because then you have a beautiful softbox for your film production, so it's a win-win. And then get some type of bias light. Again, my combo, $20 lamp stand and like a $35 bulb, and it's not that expensive. None of this, except the painting, would be hard and be more expensive, but outside of that, none of this is super expensive. And then the other thing is just be consistent. Once you set your lights, make them that way every time you grade, and you'll be good. Okay? Hit up the community if you have any questions. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about hardware, and believe it or not, there's another slew of things that we have to do to grade our film accurately. But I'm going to help you do it. I'll see you in that next lesson very soon.